right, so tell me about your weekend.
All right, so first off, I'll tell you about our trip to my dad's house because we go visit him every weekend. Every weekend, so we're up there on Saturday, and here's an update on Marvin. People actually ask about Marvin.
Sure, yeah.
Marvin's become a cat celebrity. So Marvin's new place is right at the entrance to the kitchen because it used to be he would just pay attention if he heard someone go into the kitchen. Now he just stands guard. He's not even going to let you in unless there's a possibility that he might get some food out of the whole proceeding. So
can we talk about the tile? That's where my
oh yeah,
this tile is like total throwback.
This is 1979 linoleum.
Yes,
is what it is.
I've seen this.
Yes,
many
and
places.
they still have the original Harvest Gold appliances.
Get out.
They have the fridge, the stove, the dishwasher. They all still work. We talk about, like, to my dad, like, would you like some stainless steel? Would you like to update this? And you know, he's kind of like, well, they match. And he's right, and they work. So I don't know, yeah, but I appreciate it.
I want to see the pictures.
And you know what? The Harvest Gold's going to come back. Mark my words.
Yeah.
Someone told me that on Facebook, and I agree with them. All right, so Saturday night, we made Tom Collins.
What's in a Tom Collins?
Well, I didn't know.
I saw your picture.
Like, Gary looked it up.
It.
So it's gin and lemon, basically.
Oh, okay.
And then there are different variations, and we stuck some rosemary in it. It's just nice to have a nice, relaxing night.
Absolutely.
And, you know, on weeknights, I can't do it because the alarm rings too early, so it's
True.
got to be a Saturday night. Not as good as your espresso martini, but it's delicious. And then Sunday morning, we were up and at 'em to play tennis at the Bubble, and so we always play with the same couple, our friends Tony and Cindy, and we always lose to Tony and Cindy. We give them a good fight. We really do.
It's a good picture, though.
Occasionally we win. Occasionally we win, but they're tough.
There's
they're
something
really good.
about that picture, like the backdrop of it. It almost looks like it could be an ad for a tennis racket. Doesn't it?
Maybe I can get a sponsor. I need to start playing better.
All right, well, you know, I woke up this morning, and I realized that the news kind of broke last night, but I woke up this morning to push alerts from CBS News and from KDKA about the passing of Bob Saget. And I know how devastating it was when the world lost Betty White when she passed.
Right.
But I walked in and I told you, this was like my Betty White.
Yeah, and I totally get that. Because this was your era. Like, Full House was like a mainstay of the 90s television.
Yes.
Really?
Well, and Bob Saget was deemed, you know, Danny Tanner was deemed America's dad because of this, you know, because of Full House. And, you know, he was always there with good advice. He was always there to help his girls. And, it's just sad to hear of his passing.
There's also, I mean, it's shocking, too, whenever it's a celebrity, especially someone who's not old. He's 65
is not old, right.
I mean, yeah, but he just has a positive way about him.
Yeah.
And I think you saw that in every project that he did, and most recently, his comedy tour, right?
Yes, and that was, you know, it was interesting when I kind of grew up and learned a little bit more about Bob Saget, how different his comedy was than what he portrayed on Full House. Well, obviously, you could be multiple people, and his true person was doing some racy comedy.
Right.
But still, like, you know, it's just, it is shocking to hear, and I know that a lot of people are waiting to see what exactly happened because they don't suspect any foul play or drugs or anything when he was found in the hotel room in Orlando.
Yeah, he was found in a hotel room in Orlando, if you haven't heard about this. So we're waiting to hear how he did pass away, but of course, there was actually a TikTok video that we want to show you because he was on his comedy tour in Pittsburgh this past summer, and he did a TikTok video in Market Square.
Tough town, it says. Great town. Yeah.
I love
great
that he was
audiences.
in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And you know, he actually tweeted earlier in the night after his set in Orlando.
Oh, really?
He had tweeted, and you know, it was something like, just did a 2-hour set, can't believe that it went by that fast, addicted to doing stand-up again.
Yeah.
And you know, to see that he was active that short of a time before his passing, it's just, you know, again, really sad. And we're going to hear more about this coming up in Pop Talk Live in just a bit.
Yeah. I had an interview this morning where he was just talking about how addicted he was to comedy and stand-up in particular.
Yeah.
All right, we promised on Friday that we would get to some of the Friday free-for-all questions that we didn't get to. So we're going to call these leftovers, and leftovers can be great if you warm them up. They can be delicious. So we're going to get going with some of the questions. The first one is from Greg, and it's to Heather. When you call a restaurant to make a reservation, do you use your married name or your maiden name?
I always use my married name. I don't use my maiden name often. often unless it slips out just because I'm just coming off of work. 'Cause
Right.
I don't want anybody to think that I'm calling
Right.
looking
Right.
for something special, you know.
See, Gary before has said to me, why don't you call and make the reservation? And I said, it's not going to matter because when I call, I don't say, hello, I'm David Highfield.
From KDKA News Channel 2.
No one knows your name until the very end whenever they actually make
Yeah.
the reservation. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want special treatment.
No,
so I never
no, not at all.
I never use my maiden name. Yeah.
Exactly.
I always use my married name. Okay, the next question is from Nani. Am I saying that right? David, who plays the piano that's seen in some of your pics?
Well, it would be Gary, my husband, who teaches musical theater at CMU. Although this is a pic of this is what I love about having a piano in the house. So this is a really fun night after one of the cabarets with the students. This is the composer, Stephen Schwartz, who did Wicked and Pippin, very famous, but great, great guy. He's playing the piano. And then standing up singing is Casey Cott from the Riverdale on CW. And so he was one of Gary's former students. And we have these wonderful nights where these kids are taking turns singing. And, I can't sing at all, but I love music so much. And it's such an exhilarating night whenever that happens and music breaks out.
Yeah.
So.
And for those of you who don't know David Highfield, he's also a name dropper. He could have chosen any picture, but he's like, he's really famous, this one guy.
Stephen Schwartz
and then there's this other
Casey
guy.
Cott.
If you don't know who he is, he's also famous, and they were just in my living room playing piano. It's not a big deal,
He's
though.
teasing me. No, but those nights are thrilling. And
I
that's
bet
why
they
I wanted
are.
to share it.
I
It wasn't to name drop, Heather.
It is amazing that you've had those people in your living room. So maybe we'll get to some more questions tomorrow because of my teasing.
We're out of time.
We've run out of time.
Oh my gosh. We did not a great job with that. All right.
Well, we got 2 questions.
We got 2 questions. Thank you for the questions. We'll save those questions for another time. All right, guess what? It is Restaurant Week in Pittsburgh. So coming up, in honor of the week that pays tribute to some of the best restaurants in our city, we are going to be live. We're visiting some of them. Daisy is kicking things off at really one of the best. We're going to show you why you need to pay a visit to this place.
Plus, our city's most famous hockey player is putting his name on a challenge, and he's issuing it to each of us. Why the 66 takes on new meaning this month and next. It's just the kickstart we need in the new year.
And speaking of New Year, we are 10 days in, and it's never too early for some Monday motivation. Former Steeler Arthur Moats is going to tell us why we shouldn't necessarily hang our hats on those New Year's resolutions.
It's Monday, January 10th, and we're ready for an awesome week. Let's kick it off together. We'll be right back.